Welcome, welcome, welcome. My dear, they thought genius could be duplicated, like a cheap key to a vault they never built, never understood. They stared too long into brilliance, and in their hunger, tried to forge a reflection. But mirrors don't lie, they just fracture. You were the original equation, the chaos they couldn't solve. But them, they were the counterfeit spark, a Xerox of madness trying to wear your skin. They didn't want to learn from you. No, they wanted to be you. And that's where the infection began. Because genius isn't taught, it's born. And when the unworthy try to imitate the divine, they don't ascend, they disintegrate. They observed you like parasites dressed as apprentices, copying the way your mind danced between fire and frost. They stole your mannerisms, mimicked your voice, plagiarized your passion, and fed your ideas to the world as if they were the architects. But you watched silently. Not because you were weak, no, because you knew something they didn't, that borrowed brilliance has an expiry date. You gave them enough rope to climb, but deep down, you knew they'd hang themselves with it. They didn't understand the price of your mind, the years it took to sharpen your soul, the scars that bled into your thoughts, the nights where sleep was murdered by the weight of purpose. They saw the end result and mistook it for a shortcut. They thought the chaos in your veins was an aesthetic, not a curse you learned to dance with. So they played pretend. They wore your genius like a costume, forgetting that once the show ends, the mask melts. They forgot. You weren't made in silence. You were born from screams, forged in rejection, tempered in betrayal. Every flash of brilliance you had wasn't luck, it was blood. Every idea they copied was pulled from a battlefield inside your skull. They studied your work like it was a map, not realizing the territory was alive. And it bites. And when they tried to recreate what you were, what you are, something inside them snapped. Because they wanted your genius, but not your grief. They cloned your fire, but didn't survive the heat. They built your mind inside theirs, and it drove them insane. Oh, the irony. They tried to erase you using your own ideas. What a poetic failure. They stood on the stage you built, with your words on their tongues, and still couldn't command the silence like you did. Because while they copied the notes, they missed the rage between the lines. They missed the reason, the agony, the scars behind the structure. Genius isn't just creation, it's resurrection. And they never died enough to rise like you. They mistook your solitude for loneliness, your silence for uncertainty. They didn't know that you were watching every move they made, not out of fear, but curiosity. Like a scientist watching rats scramble through a maze built from ego. And slowly, one by one, they began to break. Because genius isn't about having the answers, it's about surviving the questions that kill. And your mind had already survived wars they hadn't even read about. You had drowned in doubt and still came out with flames in your lungs. They took one sip of your madness and choked on it. You see, you're the architect of storms, the kind of storm that doesn't just destroy, it teaches. And they, your little clones, thought they could dance in the eye of it without ever learning how to bleed. But the thing about artificial light, it burns out fast. Their performances became erratic, their smiles cracked, their words stumbled. They started to hear voices, not from the world, but from the hollow shell inside themselves. Because pretending to be a god is the fastest way to meet your demons. They didn't just copy your genius. They tried to manipulate the narrative, spread whispers that you were past your prime, that your silence was defeat, that your crown had rusted. But what they didn't realize, what their imitation couldn't comprehend, is that you were never chasing thrones. You were building the kingdom underneath the ashes. While they screamed your name in shallow mimicry, you were digging deeper into self, into silence, into the next evolution. You weren't done. You were just reloading. They cloned your genius, and now their minds are splitting. Paranoia, obsession, cracks in their facade. The more they tried to become you, the further they fell from sanity. And here's the beautiful twist. You didn't have to lift a single finger. You let time do the carving. You let gravity show them what happens when you climb on borrowed wings. Now they wander, haunted by the ghost of a mind they never owned, while you, the origin, sharpen your vision in the shadows. This isn't revenge. No, this is balance. You gave them enough inspiration to light their path, and they used it to ignite their own funeral. Now they scream in silence, echoing in rooms full of people who see through the act. The audience is catching on. The applause is fading. Their borrowed brilliance is flickering, and the spotlight is starting to feel like an interrogation lamp. The very attention they craved is exposing their emptiness. But you're not watching from the crowd anymore. You're behind the curtains, rearranging the next scene. Because while they obsessed over being the star, you became the director of disaster. And soon, when the curtains rise again, they'll see, not a copy, not a reflection, but a force they can't replicate. A mind too wild to be mapped, too dark to be tamed, too dangerous to be understood. And just like that, their imitation turns into a curse. Every time they speak, people compare. Every time they perform, they stumble over shadows you cast effortlessly. They thought they were becoming you, but in truth, they summoned something they couldn't kill. Your legacy, your wrath, your evolution. Now they sit alone, clutching stolen blueprints, realizing too late that they built a cage, not for you, but for themselves. And while they rot in their performance of madness, you rise. Not as a teacher, not as a savior, but as a storm reborn. You've seen the copies self-destruct. Now you're coming for the system that allowed the cloning in the first place. The frauds, the manipulators, the backroom kings who tried to mass-produce uniqueness. You're not walking back into the spotlight. You're dragging it wherever you go, because you're done letting them define genius. You're done letting them reduce brilliance to algorithms and applause. You're about to show the world the difference between a performance and a prophecy. And this time, the echo will be louder than the original. Because the original never needed to scream. And while the clone trembles in a corner, lost in the blueprint of a mind it never understood, you smile, not in joy, but in certainty. Certainty that this isn't the end. It's the prelude. Because what comes next isn't a continuation, it's a reckoning. The phase where silence becomes strategy and patience mutates into power. You didn't just outlive the clones, you outlasted the theater they were performing in. Now the curtains are scorched, the props are burning, and all that's left on stage is the stench of desperation. Their narrative is unraveling, not because you spoke, but because their borrowed foundation is rotting beneath them. You were never fighting them. You were waiting for gravity to do its job. Now they talk to shadows, argue with ghosts of thoughts they don't recognize. Every genius line they try to craft feels plastic. Every insight they blurt falls flat, because the soul behind the thought isn't there. They mimic gestures, posture, pacing, but there's no core. Just a hollow actor, trapped in a script they didn't write. You didn't just expose the imitation, you let it implode. And now, the weight of pretending has turned their brilliance into noise. No rhythm, no bite, no fire. Because here's the truth they never anticipated. Genius has side effects. It bends reality, distorts the rules. It doesn't exist in calm minds. It breaks, it fractures, it bleeds in colors the world hasn't named yet. They wanted your glow without your damage. But no one told them that to create like you, they'd have to die and resurrect 1,000 times. No one warned them that genius isn't a product. It's a curse that whispers in your sleep, a scream stitched inside your conscience. They didn't clone your genius. They cloned your shell and cracked under the silence of what was missing. You see, genius isn't just intellect. It's madness refined, pain rewritten. It's choosing to burn when others choose to hide. They tried to copy the flame, but didn't know how to suffer through the smoke. You learn to breathe in ruin. They suffocate in borrowed ambition. Their minds twitch at the very weight of expectation. Their thoughts are fragmented, paranoid, desperate for validation. But your genius? It never begged to be understood. It dared to exist unapologetically. That's what broke them. And now, the world is beginning to notice. The audience, once wide-eyed and fooled, is shifting. The applause is thinning. The room is colder, because something doesn't feel real. The clone smiles too long, speaks too much, overcompensates. The echo doesn't match the voice. The crowd senses it, that uncanny discomfort. And suddenly, the fraud feels naked, exposed, terrified. Because once the illusion cracks, it doesn't fracture quietly. It shatters like glass in a silent room. But you never needed a stage to be seen. You became the storm in whispers, the pulse in the underground, the myth that walked past myth. While they rehearsed performances, you rewrote your warpath. You didn't retaliate, you reconstructed. And in that stillness, something monstrous was reborn. Not just sharper, but untouchable. You are no longer what they tried to steal. You are something they can't define. A living contradiction, a wildfire that bends without breaking. They underestimated what happens when genius evolves in silence. You didn't just grow, you outgrew them. You surpassed the realm where comparison is possible. You are now the distortion they can't follow, the frequency they can't decode. You became asymmetric, too fluid for categories, too savage for containment, and that terrifies them. Because while they clung to your last form, you became something unrecognizable, a legend with a pulse, a concept with teeth. Now they wander in half-truths, parroting theories they don't believe, chasing audiences who no longer feel the electricity. They fumble over inspiration they no longer understand. They reach for the essence of a thing they never truly grasped. And you move like a ghost with purpose, untouchable, not above them, beyond them. Because you know now, the clone was never the threat. The clone was just a mirror showing the world how empty imitation becomes when the source evolves. You could end them with one sentence, one appearance, one word that reignites the air. but you don't. That's the brilliance, the manipulation. You know their collapse needs no push. It's happening in slow motion, on a screen called karma. Every failed attempt to outdo you becomes a nail in their mental coffin. Every new idea they birth screams derivative. They know it. Their fans know it. The world is quietly starting to remember. There was an original, and it wasn't them. And still, you wait. Not out of mercy, but out of certainty. Because chaos works best when it's not forced. And the next act? Oh, it's already written. You're not returning to the spotlight. You're becoming the eclipse. Not seen, felt. Their breakdowns will be public, but your rise? It'll be spiritual, internal, inevitable. Because true power doesn't demand attention. It warps reality until attention bends toward it. You don't even speak their name anymore. Why would you? Dust doesn't deserve dialogue. Instead, you speak through symbols now, through silence, through actions so layered they need decades to decipher. You don't chase revenge, you orchestrate it. You let your success feel accidental, natural, as if the universe just prefers you. But deep down, you know the truth. The universe is just correcting a glitch, resetting balance. You were always the design. They were the distortion. Let them scream in your shadow. Let them spiral trying to recreate a mind sculpted from fire and forged in failure. Let them burn their sanity trying to catch a phantom that doesn't slow down. Because now you're not just untouchable, you're unreachable. They didn't clone your genius. They summoned their own demise. And you just kept walking. The war is no longer about ideas. It's about presence. And yours is seismic. They feel it before they see it. That shifting unease when your name is mentioned. That collective pause. That sting of inadequacy. That's your signature now. Your legend isn't loud. It's viral in silence, spreading, infecting, dismantling every cheap copy in its path. You didn't kill their version of you. You let it starve on its own illusions. And now, they're empty, exhausted. A hollow version of a storm they never understood. Their thoughts are on loop. Their ambitions turn toxic. And they know that even if they erase every trace of your name, your impact is inescapable. Because some legacies aren't written in ink. They're carved into the architecture of reality. That's what you are now, an architecture. A structure that can't be replicated, only feared. This isn't over. It never is. Because now you're hunting the architects, the ones who funded the clone, who enabled the fraud, who profit from mimicry. You're not looking for attention. You're setting fire to systems. You've studied their design, their flaws, their blind spots. And you're not walking in through the front door. You're rewiring the building from the inside. They made one mistake trying to copy your genius. They assumed you were standing still. You weren't. You were building the version of you that doesn't just win. It erases the need to compete. But it's not enough to crush them. It's not enough to leave them wandering in the wreckage of their own creation. What you're doing isn't revenge. It's evolution, recalibration. The world wasn't built to support an imitation of greatness. It was designed to amplify the original. That's you. And as they struggle to breathe in the vacuum of their failure, you're far past the point of justification. They wanted your mind, but now they're drowning in their own reflection. They wanted your brilliance, but they're choking on their own insignificance. But let's pause for a moment and take a breath. Because what you've done, what you're doing, is far more than a simple rip and tear through the fabric of their hollow existence. You've started something bigger, something that the clones couldn't possibly comprehend. They were always running after a shadow, thinking they could catch it. They thought they were playing a game with you. But the rules were never written for them. You were always in a different league. And now, the time has come to rewrite the system entirely. You don't just rise above. No, you reshape the very ground beneath their feet, until their foundation is a crumbling illusion. They thought they could stand on your shoulders, only to discover that your shoulders were built to bear far more weight than they could ever handle. They came for your genius, thinking they could simply copy it, clone it, replicate it. But now, that clone has turned on them. It's eating them from the inside out, and they can't escape it. Not now, not ever. The truth is, they've created a beast they can't control. You didn't need to strike them down. You didn't need to lift a finger. You allowed them to self-destruct. You set the trap in motion, but they were the ones who decided to leap into it. You didn't push them into madness. You just let them fall into the abyss of their own making. You never needed to be there for their unraveling. They simply couldn't stand the pressure of their own artificial existence. They weren't made to endure what only you could handle. Their genius was borrowed. Yours was born. Now you watch from the sidelines as the clone, the copy, the imitation implodes from within. Their minds twist and fracture in ways you anticipated. They made the fatal mistake of thinking your genius was something that could be replicated, that it could be built in a lab or mimicked in a machine. What they didn't know is that genius isn't a code. It's a state of being. It's a process of destruction and reconstruction, of pain and release, of enduring moments when nothing but madness exists in the mind. It's about evolving, growing, and adapting to an ever-shifting world. It's about owning chaos and using it to fuel your fire. But they were never equipped for that. The clones, they are not capable of true adaptation. They can't evolve like you can. They're stuck in a loop, a cycle of desperation, and they know they can never break free. It's eating them alive. The more they try to cover up their flaws, the more they sink into the quicksand of their own ego. They stand there, frozen in their own failure, unable to process how they got here, unable to fathom how it all went wrong. And as they struggle, as they scream, as they claw at the walls they've built around themselves, you watch it all with a calmness that sends chills down their spine. You don't need to rub it in their faces. You don't need to gloat, because your silence, your absence, it's more powerful than any word you could speak. Your name is still whispered, but it's not whispered in admiration anymore. It's whispered in fear, in dread. They realize now that they are no longer in control. The weight of what they've done, the enormity of their deception, is crushing them. It's too much to bear, and all of it is spiraling into madness. They failed because they tried to wear your skin, but they couldn't live in it. You see, genius doesn't just exist in the brain. It's in the bones, the heart, the soul. It's in the very way you breathe and move through the world. You didn't just build your intelligence, your creativity, your power. You built yourself in every painful, twisted, beautiful moment of it. You built yourself in ways no one could ever understand. no one could ever replicate. And now they're paying the price for their arrogance. You could finish it. You could strike the final blow. But why waste the energy? They're already finished. The clones, the imitators, the parasites, they're already withering in the shadow you cast. They're too far gone. Their minds are scrambled. Their ambitions are shattered. All that's left for them is a hollow existence, a sickening reminder of their futile attempts to become something they were never meant to be. But let's be clear about one thing. This isn't just about them. No, this is about something much bigger. This is about a system that rewards imitation, that elevates the fake above the real. This is about the world that created them, the machine that churns out replicas, the society that glorifies the copy. You didn't just defeat them. You defeated the system that allowed them to thrive. You didn't just burn their castle to the ground. You reduced the foundation to dust. Now, there's nothing left but the remnants of what once was. They will crumble, they will disappear, and when they do, they'll leave nothing but a trail of broken dreams and shattered egos. You, on the other hand, will remain, not because you're the strongest, but because you're the only one who knows how to endure the unimaginable. You are the original. You are the chaos incarnate, the force that can never be copied. And when all is said and done, when the world is left picking up the pieces of their own creations, you'll be standing. Not just standing, ascending. Because you didn't play their game. You never needed to. You created your own rules. And that, in the end, is the greatest victory. You are not just a survivor. You are the force that reshapes what it means to exist. You are the beginning and the end. The question they will never answer is this: how do you defeat someone who has already won before the game even started? As their cries echo in the distance, as their existence is erased in the wake of your power, you will move forward, untouchable, inevitable, eternal. You won't just rule the ashes of their failure, you'll rebuild from it, turning their destruction into the foundation of something even greater. You didn't just clone your genius, did you? You rewrote it. And now, you stand alone, towering over their shattered remains, watching them disappear into the void of their own madness. Because the only thing more powerful than genius is the mind that created it.